Hello, everyone. Welcome to another CoUnit Launchpad session. My name is Juan. I'm the facilitator at the SCS CoUnit Sustainable Ecosystem Scaling. And as you probably know, one of our initiatives is to run an incubation program where we make sure that teams get what they need to be an independent core unit. And today I'm joined by the team of Sidestream, which is part of the incubation program. So I'm a little bit biased on this one, but I'm really looking forward to this presentation and yeah, to see what the team has prepared for everyone. As always, remember that if you want to, if you feel like interrupting or asking any questions, the mics are open. And yeah, I don't know if Lucas, Daniel, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Juan. Yeah. Are we sharing our screen already? All right, let's go. Yeah, I'm Daniel. I'm the facilitator of the Sidestream Auction Services group. Yeah, as Juan said, we are an SCS incubation team that started in June. And today we're just gonna introduce like ourselves and also what we have done so far and what we're hopefully gonna do in the future. So agenda for today is we're gonna talk about the mission of this core unit, introduce the team, then yeah, look a bit at like in general why an auction services core unit is important for Maker. Then we go more down what we're gonna do, like talking about our vision and strategy. And then do a live demo, like a sneak peek of what we have built so far and of the MVP, like that is gonna launch shortly, and give you an outlook on our roadmap and also present you our budget. Okay, so the mission is to improve security, transparency, and accessibility of the Maker protocol by providing and maintaining auction services through open source development. So Sidestream is a German company that was started 2 years ago by Niels and myself. We are based in Cologne, Germany, and have grown to about 20 people by providing custom software development for different kinds of customers and industries. Some of our reference projects are like PropRate, which is a portal for real estate pricing, SBIoT, which is a platform for sensor data visualization. And we have also done like various projects in financial services and the centralized world, like KYC, VC, and also a bunch of other things. And like for working with MakerDAO, we imagine our like core unit to become a separate business unit of Sidestream. And we hope to leverage like our software agency know-how when building auction services. The team that is going to be the core unit are 5 people. Some of us are going to work half-time and some full-time. So I'm, as said, the core unit facilitator. Lucas, who's sitting next to me, is the product manager. Valentin and Ben are full-stack developers, and Niels is a DevOps engineer and also a full-stack developer. And yeah, we have already worked together on a bunch of other projects before that. So now let's talk briefly about the motivation for having a dedicated core unit for auction services. For that, a quick recap on liquidations and auctions in general. So if we have a collateral such as ETH that falls below a certain collateralization ratio, the vault has to be liquidated to protect the protocol. To pay back the outstanding debt, this collateral is offered in a Dutch auction. So in an auction that starts at a high price and the price goes down over time till a bid is placed, and then the debt can be paid back and the remaining collateral goes back to the vault owner. And this system already shows why a healthy auction ecosystem and therefore a dedicated core unit is important. On the one hand, it will help preventing protocol failures, like in case when there like prices drop, like on Black Thursday, and then there are a lot of liquidations, and then we need to ensure that there's enough auction participation so that the protocol doesn't accumulate debt. And having like this ecosystem will lead to like, yeah, to showing that the protocol operates sustainably and therefore increases overall trust. On the other hand, we also create best possible outcomes for vote owners in cases of liquidations, which means, yeah, hopefully we increase the overall satisfaction of vote owners.
Yeah, at this point, I'm jumping in. Hello again to everyone from my side. I want to give a little bit of background on the importance of having a dedicated core unit that is focused on auction services. So looking at the right-hand side metrics, it's quite obvious that Maker is striving for the upper right-hand side quadrant, where there is high total value locked and catering for many different collateral types. For the high TVL, this comes with an increased risk for potential liquidation events. And as a result, there is the requirement for having a secure and stable auction system. On the other hand side, when onboarding continuously new types of collateral, this increases the overall complexity and in the end also boils down to the requirement of having and maintaining a healthy auction system. And that's where the overall importance, in our opinion, for having a dedicated core unit for the auction services comes from. So let's directly dive into the vision that we came up. And our vision is to provide and maintain systems on top of the auction mechanism that contribute to security and growth of the Maker protocol. Now, these systems that we are going to provide and maintain will increase the transparency and also generate insights by visualizing auction data. We want to build systems and provide intuitive UIs, well-maintained APIs for the interaction with the auction mechanisms that in the end should increase the accessibility and adoption of the Maker protocol. And we also want to ensure that there is always sufficient auction participation. So also in times of emergencies, inefficient market conditions, or when there are protocol upgrades, like, for example, the onboarding of new collateral types.
Yeah, next, let's talk about our strategy. How we're gonna execute on this vision. Yeah, we came up with a strategy that is centered around challenges that we anticipate along the way. So we have 5 challenges and we also have 5 solutions, and they have actually many-to-many relationship to each other. So one challenge is solved by several solutions, and one solution also caters to solving like several challenges. Let's look into this into a bit more detail. So the first challenge is fail safety. So we need, on the one hand, to understand consequences of not having fail-safe auction mechanisms, and ensure that all our solutions work in these emergency situations. And it's not just about ensuring fail safety, but so that also everyone knows that it's fail-safe and has trust into these solutions. Second challenge is about informed decision making. So in general, we want to know if auction participation is healthy, and then also measure and make decisions on things like, okay, how well are the UIs used, how is user changing over time, but also how are people interacting with auctions through scripts, and how healthy is this whole keeper ecosystem. Third challenge is prioritization. So building the right things in the right order. On the one hand, we have a long-term roadmap that we're also going to show you later. But on the other hand, we also know that this is a very fast-changing environment, and already during the incubation, a lot of new things came up, and we need to balance long-term effort and fast change or new requirements coming in. Then a special challenge is that we're building emergency infrastructure. So a lot of the things that we are building are important for the worst cases. So for a case of rear fire, and if you build sort of fire escapes for rear fire, the best you can do is maximize the likelihoods that they will actually work. And yeah, so the quality of everything we do needs to be very high. And we also need to ensure that these things actually, stay safe, like even if the protocol and the infrastructure scales. And the last challenge is that we think there's a quite heterogeneous user base. So it's important that auction mechanism actually also accessible for new users and not just for expert users. But on the other hand, it should also be still relevant, like for existing users. And most importantly is that like somehow we need to measure accessibility and see that also on this dimension we have actually improved over time.
Right, then now let's have a closer look on the different solution approaches we see to tackle the just mentioned challenges. First off, the simulation of failure modes. So we want to model the different risks and conduct regular fire drills so that in case of an actual emergency event, we are prepared. We want to do that in a very comprehensible way. So always give transparency on the different emergency prevention mechanisms that we put in place. Second solution approach is an emphasis on product management. So we want to leverage our learning curve since we grow with the protocol and also with the community and learn. We want to involve a wide range of different stakeholders, like, for example, other core units, but also the broader community to gather new requirements and then put everything in place via deploying agile practices. Our third solution is a very sophisticated review and metric-driven development process. So on the one hand side, we will have always functional reviews, but also very detailed code reviews on the other hand side. And this whole development process is underpinned by quality metrics. We want to have very short time to market through automation and standardization. For example, with an automated CI/CD pipeline. Everything we build, we want to build modular and in a reusable way. And we will deploy SOPs, guides, and checklists, again, to provide transparency and comprehensibility in everything we do. The last solution bucket is transparency and reporting. So we will open source all of the code that we are writing. We want to deploy monitoring systems that in the end will help us to derive conclusions on the system's performance and health, and also help us to derive improvements. And there will be a technical reporting ongoing on our web presence with the help of our core unit Twitter account, but we'll also document everything in our GitHub repositories. All right, then now it's the time for a quick sneak peek in our MVP. For that, I quickly need to switch the screen I'm sharing. Okay, so here you have a first sneak peek in our current MVP. What we're actually building or have been building throughout the last weeks is a new liquidation interface that allows participation in collateral auctions. It is the first UI that allows collateral auction participation via the flash loan feature that was introduced with the liquidation 2.0. And this is also the differentiator in comparison, like, for example, to the existing liquidation portal. So what we have here is basically a table with all of the active auctions. Of course, right now we are here on the Kovan testnet, since there are no active auctions on the mainnet, if there hasn't been a liquidation event in the last couple of minutes. Yeah, so as I already said, you can see the different active auctions in this table. with the current auction price. Here we are currently working on fetching the current market value from a decentralized exchange, like for example Uniswap, to then provide the user with the respective market difference. And the user also has an indication on the remaining duration for the ongoing auction. We've integrated a split layout that allows to dive deeper into a particular auction where there are more KPIs related to this particular auction. And then the user is able to engage in auction participation via the aforementioned flash loan feature. On this last page, which is in the end the transaction page, we provide different KPIs on the auction. That is, so to say, the one market. And then the other KPIs that we provide is basically the second market side. In this case, we for now focus on Uniswap, where there is then the arbitrage opportunity. And we also want to give insights already to the user on the potential profit he can make in participation in this auction, but also give a disclaimer already on the transaction fees that will be incurred by auction participation. Now, this is a lot of information that one has to process when navigating through this UI. And since we want to build very accessible UIs and also cater for unexperienced users, we have implemented this switch over here that provides a lot of context and allows an unexperienced user to get insights on what this whole is about. The UX concept we're following here is a so-called narration-based flow, where a user can read from top to bottom to understand what's actually going on. And as I said, get valuable context information on what he can actually do on this UI and why he should participate in such an auction, how he can profit from auction participation. Another example in terms of accessibility that I can demonstrate right now is in regard to the wallet integration that we have built. So the user always has a visual indication via the UI on which network he's currently navigating, and switching the network, like for example from Kovan to the mainnet, is also reflected in the UI. There is a direct connection to the MetaMask integration. So when the user, for example, switches the network from the MetaMask integration, this is directly reflected in our UI. Or for example, when the user tries to connect with a network that is not supported by the UI, this is also shown. Another small feature that I want to mention lastly is the dark modes that we have built in, since we know that there are a lot of people out there who prefer working in the dark mode. And with that said, I will end the first sneak peek in our MVP that we are currently developing.
Nice, thank you.
All right.
Super nice.
Thanks. Having said that, I will switch back to the presentation. Give me a second. So you should hopefully see it now. All right. Then to give a glimpse on the current roadmap that we have in front of us. So we want to launch our MVP by the beginning of November. And then the next feature that we are planning to build is a Twitter notification bot that allows to draw attention within the community, but also outside the community, and bring actual users to the UI that we are building. Then we want to implement the die-based bidding for the collateral auctions, so the known flip auctions. After that, we are planning to integrate also the depth and surplus auctions, so flap and flop auctions, to the existing interface, to in the end have a unified UI for all of the auction related services. We want to improve our UI by auction monitoring and analytics capabilities. Further down our roadmap, we want to maintain existing keepers, like, for example, the auction keeper, the demo auction keeper, but also flap and flop keepers. Here we are working closely together with the protocol engineering team, and will take over once upgraded to liquidation 2.0. And lastly, what's on our roadmap is to allow users to actually kick the liquidation of underwater vaults via our UI. Of course, this whole roadmap is underpinned by continuous polishing, updates, maintenance, and also always supporting protocol updates, like, for example, the onboarding of a new collateral type.
Last slide. So let's look at the budget. So as said before, so the permanent team are 3.5 full-time equivalents. I think the main position here is just a contributor compensation, which also includes, as usual, all the social insurance fees and everything else. And then there are a few kind of normal positions where we reserved some budget for, like travel and events, office space, and some like audits and all these things that might come up. A few things that I can share a few words more on the one hand, IT and subscription. So this is mostly infrastructure costs that we expect. So right now we just have a few AWS servers, but this might increase over time, and then there's a budget reserved for that. Gas costs, as we expect to have to test quite a lot of things on mainnet. Professional and legal services, also, like, the first thing we're gonna do here is like professional terms and conditions and all the other licensing stuff for the things that we're gonna develop. So even though it's open source, we need to ensure that, like, the core unit is not liable for any mistakes that a user might encounter. And the last position that is worth talking about is engineering contractors. So as said before, we are also a software development agency and already throughout the incubation program, from time to time, we have also worked together with some other people from our company that supported with some less critical work, like UI components, for instance, to just have more speed when it's possible. And we might continue to do that from time to time when it makes sense. And it might also have the advantage that in case the core unit needs to scale further in terms of headcount, we already have people that are more or less familiar with the code that has been built by the core unit. And next to the DAI budget, there's, for the permanent contributors, there is the MKR incentive that follows exactly the MKR incentive proposal of SCS. And with that said, I'm happy to take any thoughts or questions either now or also later, or on Discord, the forum, or even via email.
What's the FTE, the previous page that you mentioned? I think it was salaries or
3.5. You mean how many, or what is what?
Yeah, like how many people does that cover?
3.5. It's here at the top.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't see that. Okay, good. Are there any questions, or I mean, I can start if there's no pressing matter from David or Pros or anyone else.
Yeah, I was curious. Obviously, this makes a lot of sense for the crypto collaterals. Do you have plans to do these type of services for any of the real world assets integrations as well?
I mean, this is kind of, I think in terms of collateral, we will just follow the protocol engineering. So it's once something is like onboarded there, then we are also integrated in auctions in case it makes sense.
I think that's much harder, right, Rose? Because you need to go through, I think there's like legal things to do, and I need to liquidate the assets in the real world, and it can take weeks or months. So I think that will be, I can imagine it could be at least a lower priority for the moment being.
Yeah, but I think it will also be considered by the protocol engineering when they take on such a or offer such a collateral type already.
Right. I was wondering regarding the simulations that you do, like how is it even possible, or how is it done that you simulate a situation like the Black Thursday? Like you need like congestion and high prices and inaccessibility. Is that even possible, or it's you have to kind of take each event separately and hope for the worst kind of thing?
Yeah, I think so. We'll just so right now we just isolate like different risks, like a lot of auctions at the same time, and maybe
Right.
later do some stuff like congestion, and then hopefully improve the simulations over time by maybe testing several factors in parallel.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And then, for example, in order to test whether auction participation is actually working, there's also the possibility to, for example, execute an auction at a loss, right? In terms of, yeah, let's say a fire drill mechanism.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Regarding so anything that's coming in the future, how you're managing your backlog, it seems that it's right now it's heavily focused on users and accessibility, which is great, and I'm happy to see that. Have you guys also considered any type of integrations with, for example, exchanges or with any other type of automatic bots or keepers that would run these auctions as well? Can you comment on that a bit?
I can start. So I think one thing that is coming in the future, which is good, is that so to maintain these keepers, you don't necessarily will need like to provide the capital, as you can do these kind of flash loans. So this might actually enable core units like ours or others, but without like having like huge capital reserves, to also provide some sort of keepers. But this also depends, like a lot of auction types, to my knowledge, are not upgraded yet to liquidations 2.0. So this is also kind of dependent on that.
Nice.
And when it comes to flash loan execution, of course, we are planning to integrate and implement different DEXs out there. So for now, we decided to focus on Uniswap to get the whole functionality running. But then we definitely plan to integrate other DEXs like SushiSwap as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Are there any other questions from the community?
So I guess in terms of the MKR package, is that going to be basically being distributed to the company of Sidestream, or is it going to individual contributors?
Yeah, this is actually an issue that a lot of teams right now face that come from existing companies. So the idea is to actually bind the contributors with that. But how this will legally work is still gonna be figured out together with the SES team.
Awesome, thanks.
And regarding the process where we are, I think that the proposal is in RFC, right? So what's your idea and your plan to move forward? Is it to get feedback from the community, or to are you more in like campaigning mode and trying to show the value? What's the stage you're at?
Yeah, so I mean, we already worked a lot on this like RFC with the SES team, with the incubation program, and also talked in this process already with a lot of different core units. But yeah, now we in the next weeks we yeah, hope to campaign a bit more. We'll also be in Lisbon next week, hope to meet many members in person. And then, yeah, by end of the month, we want to launch the MVP, and then also the map will be up for voting at that time.
Nice. I was going to ask what's the best way of reaching out for anyone watching the recording, but I think we have it on stream. What do you guys prefer? Is it Discord the best way of reaching out to you, or do you prefer more an email?
Yeah, we're in the SES Discord for now, so yeah, we're always reachable there. But yeah, you can also write me an email as people are in the forum also, so everything's possible.
Okay, nice. Are there any other questions before we close the call, or anything that you guys would like to say or comment for anyone watching later?
Yeah, we are happy to get more feedback or ideas. So yeah, just get in touch either during the RFC phase or later. So always good to have more opinions from the community on all the things that we came up with.
Are you going to set up any type of channels for the community to reach out to propose I don't know, new features, for example? Do you have any plans on that? Can you maybe comment a bit?
Yeah, I think it was somewhere in the strategies that we're also going to work with a public roadmap. So where everyone sees what we're going to, so basically the roadmap we just shared, but in more detail, and then you can either comment on these things, but also propose like new issues for the backlog.
Nice. All right, so I cannot read any other questions in the chat either. So yeah, thank you guys for presenting. I mean, I see your progress quite often from the SES perspective, but it's always nice to comment a bit and to share with the wider maker community. So thank you for making the time to be here, and yeah, let's keep the discussions and the feedback going at forum.maker.com. And if you have any questions for Daniel or the team, feel free to reach out.
Great, thanks for having us.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you guys. Have a nice one.